The rain fell heavy on the small farm in the mountains of Korea. Kang Tae-ho stood near his window and watched the gray sky. 3 years had passed since the aliens came. 3 years since the world changed forever. The Valen Empire arrived without warning. Their ships blocked the sun for days. Millions died in the first week. Tae-ho lost his wife Yuna when their city was destroyed. He took his son Do-yoon and ran to the mountains. He built a small farm. He kept his head down. He tried to forget that he was once a Navy SEAL, one of the deadliest soldiers on Earth. But some things cannot be forgotten. Do-yoon walked into the room. He was 17 now, tall and thin with his mother's kind eyes. He carried a bucket of water from the well. "Father, the rain will help the crops," Do-yoon said. Tae-ho nodded but did not smile. He watched his son carefully. For weeks, he had noticed things. Do-yoon leaving at night. Do-yoon returning before sunrise with mud on his boots. Tae-ho knew his son was doing something dangerous. He knew, but he said nothing. He was afraid that if he spoke, he would push Do-yoon further into the darkness. The Valens controlled everything now. Humans could not gather in groups. Humans could not own weapons. Humans could only work and obey. But some humans refused to obey. They called themselves the Resistance. They moved food and medicine to villages that the Valens had forgotten. They kept hope alive in small ways. Tae-ho was sure his son had joined them. That night, Tae-ho pretended to sleep. He heard Do-yoon's footsteps. He heard the door open and close. He wanted to follow. He wanted to grab his son and lock him inside where it was safe. But he stayed in bed. He stared at the ceiling and waited. The hours passed slowly. When the sun rose, Do-yoon had not returned. Tae-ho felt ice in his chest. He dressed quickly and walked outside. The rain had stopped, but the ground was wet. He followed the path down the mountain toward the main road. His heart beat faster with each step. He saw smoke in the distance. Tae-ho ran. His legs burned, but he did not stop. He reached the village at the bottom of the mountain and saw a crowd of people. They stood silent and afraid. Valen soldiers surrounded them, their gray armor shining in the morning light. In the center of the village square, Commander Veth stood on a platform. He was tall for a Velen, with pale blue skin and eyes like black stones. He spoke through a device that made his voice boom across the crowd. "Humans of this sector," Veth said. "Last night, we captured criminals who broke our laws. They stole food. They spread lies. They thought they could hide from the Empire." Tae-ho pushed through the crowd. His blood ran cold. On the platform, 6 young humans knelt with their hands tied behind their backs. Do-yoon was among them. "No," Tae-ho whispered. Do-hyun looked up. His eyes found his father in the crowd. There was no fear on his face. Only sadness. Only love. "These criminals will serve as an example," Commander Veth continued. "The cost of defiance is death." Tae-ho tried to move forward, but the crowd held him back. People grabbed his arms. They whispered for him to stop. They knew what would happen if he fought. "Let me go," Tae-ho growled. But there were too many hands. Veth raised his weapon. It was a small device that glowed with blue light. Do-yoon kept his eyes on his father. His lips moved. He spoke words that Tae-ho could not hear but understood. "I love you. I am sorry." The weapon fired. Tae-ho screamed. The sound tore from his throat like something dying. He fell to his knees as his son's body collapsed on the platform. The world became blurry. He could not breathe. He could not think. The crowd scattered as the Velen soldiers marched away. Commander Veth did not look back. To him, this was nothing. Just another day of keeping order. Tae-ho crawled to the platform. He climbed up and pulled his son's body into his arms. Do-hyun was still warm. His eyes were closed now, peaceful, as if he was only sleeping. The rain began to fall again. Taiho held his son and rocked back and forth. He did not cry. The pain was too deep for tears. It filled every part of him. It burned in his chest like fire. He stayed there for hours. People came and tried to take him away. He did not move. He did not speak. He just held Dohin and felt the rain wash over them both. When night came, Taiho finally stood. He lifted his son's body and carried him up the mountain. He buried Dohin next to a tree that overlooked the valley. He marked the grave with stones. Then he stood alone in the darkness. For 3 years, Taiho had controlled himself. He had buried his skills. He had buried his rage. He had told himself that peace was the only way to survive. He had been wrong. The Velans had taken his wife. Now they had taken his son. They had taken everything. Something changed inside Taiho that night. The soldier he had tried to forget woke up. The killer he had locked away broke free. He looked up at the sky where Velan ships patrolled among the stars. "I am coming for you," he whispered. "All of you." The war had just begun. Taiho walked deep into the Taebek Mountains. He carried a small bag with food and water. He had no weapons. Not yet. The Velans called this area a dead zone. They had sent many patrols into these mountains. None of them came back. The aliens believed something dangerous lived here. They were right. Taiho knew these mountains well. Years ago, before the invasion, he had hidden supplies here. Weapons, explosives, equipment. He had prepared for war long before the Velans arrived. Every good soldier prepares for the worst. The forest grew thick around him. The trees were tall and old. Sunlight barely reached the ground. Taiho moved carefully. He listened to every sound. The birds were quiet. Too quiet. Something was watching him. He felt it before he saw it. A presence in the shadows. Something big. Something powerful. Taiho stopped walking. He did not run. Running was pointless. Whatever was out there could catch him easily. "I know you are there," he said to the darkness. "I am not here to hunt. I am not your enemy." The forest was silent. Then the trees moved. A shape stepped out from behind a massive oak. Taiho had seen many things in his life. He had fought in wars across the world. He had killed men and been nearly killed himself. But he had never seen anything like this. The creature stood over 9 feet tall. Its body was covered in dark brown fur. Its arms were thick with muscle. Its face was almost human, but not quite. The eyes were old and wise and filled with intelligence. Taiho knew the stories. Every Korean child knew them. The mountain spirits. The wild men of the forest. The ones the West called Bigfoot. He had always thought they were myths. "You are brave," the creature said. Its voice was deep like thunder. "Or foolish." Taiho stood his ground. "I am neither. I am just a man with nothing left to lose." The creature studied him. Then another shape appeared. This one was smaller, but still huge by human standards. A female, with silver streaks in her dark fur. Her eyes were sharp and angry. "Kill him," the female said. "He will bring the gray ones here." "Wait," the male said. He stepped closer to Taiho. "Why are you in our mountains, human?" Taiho looked into the creature's eyes. "The gray ones killed my son. I am going to kill them all. Every single one." The forest was quiet again. The two creatures looked at each other. "The gray ones killed 3 of our kind," the male said slowly. "When they first came to this world. They burned our home with fire from the sky. Then we have the same enemy," Taiho said. The female made a sound of disgust. "Humans are weak. What can one man do against the gray ones?" Before Taiho could answer, a noise came from the sky. A Velan drone. It had followed him into the mountains. The female growled. "You led them here." Stay hidden, Taiho said. I will handle this. The drone flew lower. Taiho heard the sound of ships in the distance. A Velen squad was coming. 6 soldiers, at least thought the male creature, raised his massive arm. We will fight together. No, Taiho said. Let me show you what one human can do. He moved into the forest like a shadow. The years of training came back to him instantly. He was a seal again. He was death walking through the trees. The Velen soldiers landed in a small clearing. They spread out in formation, weapons raised. They did not know that death was already among them. Taiho took the first one from behind. He grabbed the soldier's head and twisted. The neck broke with a soft crack. The body fell without a sound. The second soldier turned at the wrong moment. Taiho had taken the dead soldier's knife. He threw it across the clearing. It found the soldier's throat. The remaining 4 soldiers panicked. They fired their weapons into the trees. Blue light burned through leaves and branches. But Taiho was not there anymore. He was behind them. He was beside them. He was everywhere and nowhere. One by one, they fell. When it was over, Taiho stood in the clearing surrounded by 6 dead Velens. He was not even breathing hard. The 2 creatures emerged from the trees. The female stared at Taiho with new respect in her eyes. Perhaps humans are not so weak, she admitted. The male nodded. I am called Beak. This is my sister, Nuri. We have watched your kind suffer under the Grey Ones for 3 years. We did nothing because we believed humans could not fight back. He looked at the bodies on the ground. We were wrong. Taiho wiped the blood from his hands. I need weapons. I have a supply hidden deeper in the mountains. Help me get there, and I will bring war to our enemies. Beak and Nuri looked at each other again. Something passed between them. An understanding. We will help you, Beak said. We will teach you how we hunt, how we move through the forest without sound, how we kill without mercy. And in return? Taiho asked. Nuri stepped forward. Her teeth were sharp when she smiled. In return, we get to kill Grey Ones. For the first time since his son died, Taiho felt something other than grief. He felt hope. They traveled deeper into the mountains together. Taiho found his hidden supply: rifles, explosives, night vision equipment, body armor, everything he needed. For 2 weeks, they trained together. Beak and Nuri taught Taiho their ways. He learned to move like the wind. He learned to strike like lightning. He combined their ancient skills with his modern training. They became something new, something the Velens had never faced before. The Ghost Unit was born. The first Velen outpost burned on a cold winter night. 12 soldiers died. There were no survivors. There were no witnesses. The only thing left behind was ash and fear. Commander Veth received the report in his headquarters. He read it twice and threw it away. Human rebels, he said to his officers. Nothing more. Increase patrols in that sector. But the attacks continued. A supply convoy disappeared in the mountains. 20 soldiers gone. A communication tower exploded. A weapons depot burned to the ground. Every week brought new reports of death and destruction. The Velen soldiers began to whisper about ghosts. They said something inhuman hunted them in the darkness. They said the mountains were cursed. They refused to patrol at night. Commander Veth grew angry. He doubled the patrols. He tripled the guards. It made no difference. The Ghost Unit struck whenever and wherever they wanted. Then they vanished like smoke. Taiho led every mission himself. Beak and Nuri fought beside him like shadows made of muscle and fury. They moved through the forest without sound. They killed without mercy. They left nothing behind but bodies and burning buildings. News of the attacks spread across Korea. The resistance heard the stories. A woman named Park Minji decided to find out the truth. Minji was 30 years old. She had been a lieutenant in the Korean army before the invasion. Now she led resistance cells across the country. She was smart and careful and brave. She did not believe in ghost dot. It took her 3 weeks to track the ghost unit to the mountains. She went alone because she trusted no one else. Taiho found her before she found him. He appeared from the darkness with a knife at her throat. "Who are you?" he asked. "My name is Park Minji," she said calmly. "I lead the resistance. I came to find the ghosts." Taiho studied her face. He saw no fear there, only determination. "You found us," he said. He lowered his knife. They talked through the night. Minji explained that the resistance had networks across the country. They had information about villain movements, schedules, and weaknesses. They could help. Taiho shook his head. "I work alone." "You work with 2 Bigfoots," Minji said. "I saw them in the trees." Beak stepped out of the shadows. His size made Minji step back, but she did not run. "She is brave," Beak said. "I like her." Nuri appeared next. "She could be useful. She has information we need." Taiho was quiet for a long moment. He thought about his son. Do-hyun had joined the resistance because he wanted to help people. He had died trying to make the world better. "Fine," Taiho said finally. "Give us information, but we choose our targets. We follow no orders." Minji nodded. "I can accept that." She brought one more person to meet them. A young man named Han Ji-ho. He was 22 years old with fire in his eyes. He had known Do-hyun. They had worked together in the resistance. "Your son was my friend," Ji-ho told Taiho. "He was the bravest person I ever met. I want to fight with you. I want to make them pay for what they did." Taiho saw himself in the young man's rage. He knew that anger could be a weapon, but it could also get you killed. "Stay close to me," Taiho said. "Do exactly what I say, or you will die." Ji-ho nodded. He was ready. The ghost unit grew stronger with Minji's intelligence. They knew where the villains would be before the villains knew themselves. They struck harder and faster than ever before. Taiho led an attack on a major communication center. The explosion blinded an entire sector of villain operations. For 3 days, the aliens could not talk to each other. Chaos spread through their ranks. Commander Veth could no longer ignore the problem. He sent a message to his superiors in orbit. He requested reinforcements. He requested special help. "There is something in these mountains," he wrote in his report. "Something that is destroying us piece by piece. I need hunters." His request was approved. 2 weeks later, a special ship landed at Veth's headquarters. A single figure walked down the ramp. It was tall and covered in black armor. Its eyes glowed red in the darkness. "I am called Crix," the figure said. "I am a cleanser. I hunt and I kill. That is all I do." Commander Veth felt relieved for the first time in months. "Find these ghosts. End them." Crix made a sound that might have been laughter. "I have never failed a hunt. These humans will die screaming." The hunter had arrived. The game was about to change, but Taiho did not know this yet. He stood on a mountain ridge and looked down at a burning villain base. Beak and Nori stood beside him. Ji-ho was nearby, learning to move through the forest. "We are winning," Ji-ho said with excitement. Taiho shook his head. "We are surviving. There is a difference." Nuri sniffed the air. "Something is coming. I can feel it." Beak nodded slowly. "The Gray Ones will not accept defeat. They will send something terrible." Taiho checked his rifle. "Let them send whatever they want. We will kill it like we killed the others." He did not know how wrong he was. He did not know that death was already coming for them. A death unlike anything they had faced before. The real war was just beginning. Crick studied the burned remains of 6 Velen outposts. He walked through the ashes and touched the ground. He smelled the air. He saw things that ordinary soldiers could not see. 3 attackers, he said to himself. 1 human. 2 creatures of some kind. Large, powerful, interesting. He followed their trail into the mountains. The tracks were old, but Crick's was patient. He had hunted across 100 worlds. He had killed thousands of targets. He had never failed. Taiho's ghost unit did not know. They were being tracked. They planned their next attack on a Velen fuel depot. The depot supplied ships across the entire region. Destroying it would ground the alien patrols for weeks. "This is our biggest target yet," Minji said through the communication device. "Be careful." Taiho led his team through the forest at night. Beak moved like a mountain that had learned to walk. Nuri ran ahead, scouting the path. Jiho stayed close to Taiho, his rifle ready. They reached the depot at midnight. Guards patrolled the walls. Searchlights swept the ground. "I count 20 soldiers," Jiho whispered. 23, Taiho corrected. 3 more on the roof. Beak cracked his knuckles. "I will take the north wall." Nuri smiled with sharp teeth. "I want the south." Taiho nodded. "Jiho, you stay with me. We go through the main gate after they start." The attack began perfectly. Beak crashed through the north wall like a living earthquake. Soldiers screamed as he threw them aside like toys. Nuri tore through the south wall with terrible speed. Her claws opened armor like paper. Taiho and Jiho moved through the chaos. They shot guards. They planted explosives. Everything went according to plan. Then everything went wrong. A shadow dropped from the sky. It landed in front of Nuri with a sound like thunder. Black armor. Red eyes. Crix had found them. He moved faster than anything Taiho had ever seen. He grabbed Nuri and threw her into a wall. The concrete cracked from the impact. Nuri fell and did not get up. "Nuri!" Beak roared. He charged at Crix with all his strength. Crix caught Beak's fist in one hand. He twisted. Beak screamed as his arm broke. Crix kicked him in the chest and sent him flying across the depot. Jiho fired his rifle at Crix. The bullets bounced off the black armor. Crix turned and looked at the young man. Those red eyes showed no emotion. "Run!" Taiho shouted. He grabbed Jiho and pulled him toward the exit. Behind them, Crix began to follow. He moved slowly, deliberately. He was enjoying the hunt. Taiho hit the trigger for the explosives. The fuel depot exploded in a massive ball of fire. The blast knocked them forward. Heat washed over them like a wave. They ran into the forest. Beak caught up with them, carrying Nuri over his shoulder. His arm hung at a wrong angle. Blood dripped from cuts all over his body. "What was that thing?" Jiho gasped. "Death," Beak said. "That was death with red eyes." They ran through the night. They did not stop until they reached a hidden cave deep in the mountains. Only then did Taiho let them rest. Nuri was badly hurt. Her ribs were broken. She could barely breathe. Beak set his own arm with a growl of pain. Jiho was shaking with fear. Taiho sat alone near the cave entrance. He stared into the darkness. "We cannot beat that thing," Jiho said quietly. "It is too strong. Too fast. We will find a way," Taiho replied. But even he was not sure. Days passed. They stayed hidden while Nuri healed. Beak grew restless. He wanted revenge. One night, Taiho sat with Beak outside the cave. The stars were bright above them. Somewhere up there, Velen ships waited. "Tell me about your people," Taiho said. Beak was quiet for a moment. "Long ago, we lived alongside humans. Your ancestors knew us. They called us mountain spirits. We helped them hunt. We protected them from danger. But then humans changed. They built cities. They made weapons. They forgot the old ways. So we hid. We became myths. Stories to scare children. Why did you help me? Taiho asked. Beak looked at him. Because you reminded me of the old humans. The brave ones. The ones who never gave up, even when facing monsters. Nori spoke from inside the cave. Her voice was weak but determined. I understand now. Why humans fight. You do not stop. Even broken, you do not stop. It is foolish. But it is also beautiful. Taiho thought about his son. Do-hyun had not stopped. He had fought until the very end that an idea began to form in Taiho's mind. We cannot fight Crix directly, he said slowly. But we do not have to. We just need to trap him. He explained his plan. An old mine complex in the mountains. Tunnels that went deep underground. A place where Crix's speed would mean nothing. A place where they could collapse the ceiling and bury him forever. It is dangerous, Beak said. Everything is dangerous, Taiho replied. But this might work. Minji arranged distractions across the region. Resistance fighters attacked Velen targets everywhere. They drew attention away from the mountains. Taiho led his team to the abandoned mine. He left a trail that Crix could follow. He wanted the hunter to find them, and Crix did find them. The cleanser entered the mine alone. He walked through the darkness without fear. His red eyes glowed in the black tunnels. I know you are here, Crix called out. I can smell your fear. Jiho stepped out from behind a pillar. He held a detonator in his hand. His face was pale, but his eyes were steady. I am not afraid, Jiho said. He pressed the button. The explosion collapsed the tunnel between Crix and the exit. Rock and dust filled the air. Crix roared with anger as his escape was cut off, but Jiho did not run fast enough. The falling stones caught him. He disappeared under tons of rock. Jiho! Taiho screamed. There was no answer. Taiho had no time to grieve. Crix was coming. The monster tore through the collapsed rocks with his bare hands. He was wounded now. His armor was cracked. But he was still deadly. Taiho, Beak, and Nori faced him in the darkness of the mine. 3 against 1, Crix said. I like those odds. The final battle began. Beak charged first. He grabbed Crix and held him with all his strength. Nori attacked from behind, her claws tearing at the cracks in the armor. Crix fought like a demon. He threw Beak aside. He kicked Nori away. But they kept coming. They kept fighting. Taiho waited for his moment. He watched Crix's movements. He saw the pattern. He saw the opening dot when Beak grabbed Crix again. When Nuri tore away a piece of armor near the neck, Taiho moved. He drove his knife through the gap in Crix's helmet. The blade went deep into the monster's skull. Crix made a choking sound. His red eyes flickered. Then they went dark. The hunter fell. But before he died, Crix sent one final message. His armor transmitted their location to Commander Veth. The ghost unit had won the battle. But the war was coming to them now. Commander Veth smiled when he received Crix's final transmission. He stood in his command center in the great fortress built over the ruins of Seoul. Screen showed him the exact location of the ghost unit. Send every soldier we have, he ordered. Burn that mountain to the ground. Far above in orbit, Admiral Sorek watched from his ship. He was tired of this planet. Tired of the endless human resistance. He considered simply destroying everything from space. Give me one reason not to glass this world, he said to no one. Veth's forces moved toward the mountains. Hundreds of soldiers. Dozens of ships. Enough firepower to destroy a city, but they were not fast enough. Taiho found Jiho's body under the rocks. The young man was dead. He had died saving them all. Taiho carried the body out of the mine and buried it beside a stream. He was brave, Nuri said quietly. She was still weak from her wounds. He was stupid, Beak added. Then his voice softened. But yes, he was brave. Taiho stood over the grave. His heart was heavy with grief and guilt. Another young man dead because of him. Another life lost in this endless war. Minji's voice crackled through the communication device. Taiho, the Velans know where you are. They are coming with everything they have. You need to run. Taiho did not answer immediately. He looked at the mountains around him. He thought about his son. He thought about Jiho. He thought about all the people who had died. No more running, he said finally. What? Minji sounded confused. If they want to end this, then we end it. But we end it our way. I'm going to kill Commander Veth. The communication was silent for a long moment. Then Minji spoke again. That is suicide. His fortress has thousands of soldiers. Then give me a distraction, Taiho said. Something big. Something that will make them look everywhere except at me. Minji understood. You want an uprising. I want chaos. She hesitated for only a second. I will make it happen. Give me 2 days. The next 48 hours were the longest of Taiho's life. He prepared his weapons. He studied maps of the Soul Fortress. He found the old tunnel systems that ran under the city, tunnels that the Velans had never discovered. Beak and Nuri healed as best they could. They refused to stay behind. We started this together, Beak said. We finish it together. Nuri nodded. Besides, I want to see the look on the Grey Ones' faces when they realize what is coming. On the 3rd day, the uprising began. Resistance fighters attacked Velan positions across all of Korea. Explosions lit up the night. Buildings burned. The Velan forces scattered to fight 100 small battles at once. Commander Veth received reports of chaos spreading through his territory. He ordered more troops to the streets. He pulled soldiers from the fortress to restore order. He did not know that he was doing exactly what Taiho wanted. Taiho led Beak and Nuri through the ancient tunnels under Seoul. The passages were dark and old, built centuries ago and forgotten by everyone except historians. They moved in silence toward the heart of the fortress. They emerged in a basement deep inside Veth's headquarters. Guards waited above. Many guards. But not as many as before. The killing began. Taiho moved like a ghost. His rifle whispered death. Soldiers fell before they could raise their weapons. Beak crashed through doors and walls. Nothing could stop him. Nuri ran through corridors like wind with claws. She painted the floors with alien blood. Alarms screamed throughout the fortress. More soldiers came. They died like the others. Beak was shot in the shoulder, then in the leg. He kept fighting. Go, he told Taiho. Find the commander. I will hold them here. Taiho hesitated. Beak pushed him forward. Go. This is what we came for. Nuri led Taiho up through the fortress. They fought through hallways and stairwells. They left destruction in their wake. Finally, they reached the command center. Commander Veth waited inside. He held a weapon in his hand. He looked calm, even pleased. The famous ghost, Veth said. I have been waiting for you. Nuri lunged at him. Veth fired his weapon. The blast caught her in the chest. She flew backward and crashed into the wall. She did not move. Taiho roared with rage. He charged at Veth. They fought hand to hand. Veth was a trained warrior. He was fast and strong. But Taiho was something more than a warrior now. He was a father who had lost everything. He was fury made flesh. They traded blows. Taiho took hits that would kill a normal man. He did not stop. He could not stop. He grabbed Veth's arm and broke it. The weapon fell. Taiho kicked Veth's legs out from under him. The commander crashed to the floor. Taiho stood over his enemy. Blood dripped from his face. His hands shook with exhaustion. "You killed my son," he said. "Do you even remember?" Veth laughed. "I have killed thousands of humans. Why would I remember one? Because he was everything to me." Taiho drew his knife. He did not kill Veth quickly. He made sure the commander felt every moment of pain. He made sure Veth knew what it meant to face a human with nothing left to lose. When it was over, Taiho walked to the commander's communication console. He activated the broadcast system. His face appeared on every screen in the fortress. His voice was heard on every Velen frequency. "This planet is not yours," he said. "Every soldier you send, we will kill. Every base you build, we will burn. We are humanity. We do not surrender. We do not forget. We do not forgive." He paused. His eyes were hard as stone. "Come for us if you want. We will be waiting." Admiral Sorak watched the broadcast from orbit. He saw the uprising spreading across the planet. He saw the reports of his forces dying everywhere. The cost of this occupation had become too high. "Pull our forces back," he ordered his officers. "We will return when we are ready." The Velen ships began to leave Earth, not defeated, but retreating. Reconsidering, Taiho found Beak and Nuri. They were both alive, barely. Resistance fighters arrived to help carry them to safety. The war was not over. The Velens would return someday. But humanity had proven something. They had shown the galaxy that Earth was not easy prey. Weeks later, Taiho stood at his son's grave in the mountains. Beak and Nuri stood beside him. The spring sun was warm on their faces. Taiho placed his hand on the cold stone. "I could not save you," he whispered. "But I made them remember you." Beak put his massive hand on Taiho's shoulder. "Your son would be proud." Nuri nodded. "He started this fight. We finished it." Taiho looked up at the sky. The Velen ships were gone. "For now, we finished nothing," he said. "This was just the beginning." He turned and walked down the mountain. Beak and Nuri followed. Somewhere out there, among the stars, enemies were planning their return. But they would find Earth ready. They would find humanity waiting. And standing at the front, they would find a father who had lost everything and gained something far more. Dangerous. Purpose. The ghost unit would be ready.